All right, ladies and gentlemen, my name's Scyushi. We are back as more on Trove, and we're on the test server right now. You'll have to pardon me for this video being a little bit late. Been running into life stuff. Like you can already see and hear. That's the most disappointing thing. You can hear in my voice the reverb in the room again. It's not jarring, like it's not super bad, but it's definitely worse than it was. And the reason for that is you might notice in my background that a lot of things have been shifted around because I got mold in my room and they're still trying to find a solution. So I basically just had to move a bunch of my stuff out of the way. Anyways, today I wanted to talk about the test server and the update that we have on the server. What I'm going to be doing is I'm not going to be going through the patch notes specifically because we'll save that for when the update ends up going live inevitably in like a week or two on PC. But I did kind of want to just give you a summary of the update as we end up going through the various mechanics of it. So essentially, this is going to end up being an update that will replace Luxian. Yeah, for whatever reason, this Luxian creature that they bothered to add to the game, add a shop for, do all of these various things. Yeah, they just decided to delete all of that content and work on some new form of Luxian that nobody asked for. It's kind of cool. I'm not gonna lie, the way it's implemented is actually really neat. It's just the fact that it's regurgitating Luxian's resources that I find to be a little bit problematic. But anyways, let's head into his little basement and check it out. While we're at it, please like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, but I mean, we know you guys have already subscribed. So we got these two suckers right here. And the crazy thing is that as far as I know, this guy is here every week now, all week. I think the shop inventory either cycles out every day now or the progression of this update resets every week. Like it's another weekly grind, essentially. So this guy is going to end up selling these two items right here that you can see, which of course they had to add. Basically, the reason why this ended up removing Luxian from the game is so that they could make it pay to win. Are we really surprised? So anyways, this right here is the Luxian packed register. I don't know, Luxian crafting table. So you can see it costs an unfortunate soul. Now there's this unfortunate soul, which you can make for various fragments and a little bit of flux. And then there's this one right here, which costs 1,000,000 flux. I really hope this is placeholder. Otherwise, whichever developer decided on this, I want to slap them because you'll notice if I craft once, the cost goes up for the day. And that perpetually gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. Maybe this is their way of trying to keep you in one portal a day and essentially dragging out the content. So you could theoretically max out all of the new Luxian content right away, but it's going to drain so much of your flux. I don't know why it costs 1,000,000 flux in the first place. These devs are psychotic. If I had to guess, I would say this is them trying to find a solution to the duped flux people. But the problem is that the people that have duped flux have infinite flux. They have billions of flux. So the average player such as myself, I can afford this, sure, but I can't justify it because the ends do not justify the means. The rewards are just like, bleh. So anyways, let's craft one of these while we're on the test server and then I'll show you guys this. So essentially, this is going to end up being a world that will be at a certain difficulty. And as you end up perpetually completing each of these different levels and having the power rank requirement, you'll unlock the next trial. So you can see in this case right here, I can do difficulty 12, but I can't do difficulty 13 because I have to complete difficulty 12 first. So let's craft this portal and then let's hop into the world and you guys will kind of see what it is. So it's a new portal. It's not a delve, okay? Don't worry. It kind of is. Let's be real. But essentially what's going to happen is we're going to get warped into this world that is going to end up being, having this cute little hub area. And if we open up the map, you can see there's 3 rings of different biomes that are surrounding us. There are dungeons on the map, but the dungeons don't actually go anywhere or have any bosses in them. So I think that the devs should just remove the dungeons outright because otherwise they kind of just get in the way. It's really stupid and weird. But yeah, there's a lot of different things that we can end up doing in this hub area, or namely there's a couple things. But the most notable thing you're gonna notice right away is where did my movement speed go? So there's a technical reason why they actually remove our base movement speed when we're in this world, because the way that Trove works, when it's generating new biomes and generating new worlds, that's what really puts the server under strain. So you might be wondering, why did they end up adding a new portal that has to generate all of these biomes then if it's just going to end up making the server laggier? That's what the delves essentially were to this game. They were a way of taking the Shadow Towers, which normally on Shadow Tower reset day, there would be hundreds, if not thousands of people opening up Shadow Tower portals, which would cause the service to just go to a crawl, right? And the delves essentially took that away by making one long continuous dungeon that should have been a Shadow Tower instead of a stupid cave, versus this, which is kind of spawning a new adventure world. And so the devs' justification for having the slow movement speed is so that we go through these worlds slower and don't have to generate as much new biomes as fast. Take that as you will. Really weird. Get out of here, invader. So anyways, let's get to the progression of the update. So we got this idiot here again, just trying to scam you. And we got this crafting table. But we also have this, which as far as I can tell, this is going to end up being the new Luxian. This is like the new dragon that you can end up crafting, right? And we'll get into just how ridiculously expensive this guy is in a minute. We'll grab a quest from him to defeat inner ring enemies. So quite literally, that's going to be the enemies that are in the innermost ring. So the desert biome ring. But before we do that, let's grab some of these other quests. So this is to kill invaders, which we saw a little bit of them drop down 2 seconds ago. You'll fight them progressively as you go through these worlds anyways, so I don't think they expect you to complete it all at once. Then there's also this guy that wants us to use this donation station, which is going to end up cycling out random resources. But as you can see, it also increases the resources for everyone that you end up adding into the donation. So again, I think this all resets on daily reset. Yeah, so there's 25 of these that you can donate today. So it is all going to end up being on a daily reset. And as we end up donating, as far as I know, we are steadily getting a new resource, which is called, drum roll please, Venturine. Not to be confused with Adventurine. Devs, you got to change it. You got to change it from Venturine. It's going to be something that's just going to confuse players because it's too close to the name of like another item that's a completely different mechanic in the game. It should be called Luxian coins, Luxian droppings, or just bullshit. Anyways, you can see there's all these new banners and a bunch of other things that you can ultimately end up getting out of this. There is also the new crafting table. But before we get into any of this stuff, I'm going to show you what the actual quest is. So the quest right now is to complete the entirety of this D12 difficulty. But instead, we're going to focus on the defeat inner ring enemies. And we have to defeat 125 enemies within this biome. Now, thankfully, you can see this biome generates tons of mobs, in which case Shadow Hunter is just going to dominate this area because of the fact that, you know, you're a ranged character, so you can just kind of hold left click and delete everything, right? Now, I have noticed certain biomes generate less mobs, or more particularly a Jurassic biome, for example, will generate mobs up in the canopy trees. And so that takes away some of the spawns that you see under the canopy trees, and the biome can end up being pretty annoying, is basically what I'm saying, depending on what generates. Another thing I should mention before we're a little too ahead of ourselves is that you will see random players in this world, but you can't invite other players and can't be invited by other players. So it's kind of like, you know, it's another update that takes the MMO out of Trove in favor of it being like a single player experience, which I still don't know why. I want to play this with my friends or with a group of people, but whatever. Maybe if you end up both going into the same portal at the same time, it would end up ultimately throwing you into the same world. If you're lucky, I don't know. Thankfully, we can still use our mount in this world, so we do still have a decent amount of movement speed anyways. And there are various items that'll end up giving you temporary buffs that can end up increasing your movement speed, increasing your damage, and what have you. But essentially, that is going to be the primary quest of this area, is to just go out, kill a bunch of enemies, and return back to the hub. You can use an origin portal, sure, but I'm just going to walk over here because I don't care. As much as some people might be thinking, oh, that's it. For me, I really like this in a very weird nostalgic way, because this kind of reminds me of old school Trove, where I'm not focused on my crazy movement speed, and instead it's like U6 all over again, where I'm just kind of going out and adventuring and killing things. You know, it's nice to slow down every now and then. But anyways, as we were fighting those enemies, there was also Venturine dropping on the ground that you have to manually pick up. Maybe they changed it so that I don't have to manually pick it up. I really hope that's the case, because I hate the idea that I had to manually pick it up. It means that I just probably missed a bunch of it back there. But you can see this Venturine also has a weekly expiration date to it, which is pretty disgusting, because it means that you can only grind enough Adventurine within one solid week. So that sucks. But let's go to the crafting table, okay? So we've got compacted Venturine, sorry, which is crafted from the Venturine. Again, you primarily get this out of like these various quests and stuff, but you can also get it from the normal enemies and stuff. And if we end up crafting up one of these Venturine mass, whatever, I think this box right here or barrel or whatever, like this doesn't expire. No, it does still expire on the same weekly too. That's kind of gross. Anyways, you'll craft your Venturine into these, which as you can see slowly costs more and more, because why wouldn't it? And then you can craft it into this, and it costs a dragon coin each. Okay, let's start going through some of the stuff that you can end up crafting out of this. So there's going to end up being these things, which boost damage dealt when within the Trials of Luxion for 3 hours. You may only have a single Luxian favor effect at any time. So you could have that one, or you could have the movement speed one, but you can craft more than one of these at a time. So you can see boost movement speed by 35 up to a maximum of 115 for that 3 hour period. So I would have to craft like a couple of these so that I would end up hitting that movement speed cap. But who cares, because when we're on our mounts, we're at 125 movement speed anyway, so I don't know why I would need 115 movement speed. It's kind of weird that they even have all of this stuff, especially when some of these are worthless, because why would I ever take jump over movement speed? Why would I ever take max health or max energy or health regen, energy regen, like all of these various stats that are just worthless, save for the death insurance? Because if you die in this world, you'll end up losing all the rewards that you grinded out of this one world. So it's kind of like a weird adventure roguelike mode. I don't think we're going to end up losing this Venturine that we got off of the enemies, but let me just read through the description. So it says, 3 hours, the Trials of Luxion death penalty is reduced to 15 Venturine signets, 15 compacted Venturine mass, and 75 Venturine. Just don't die, essentially, because otherwise you are literally wasting your time in this world. And not only wasting your time, wasting precious resources and flux. And it's just, again, I want to slap the developer that thought this was a good idea. The idea of having a death penalty is cool. Not in this execution, though. I don't like the way that this is implemented, but thankfully Death Defying still exists. So anyways, we've also got the Unfortunate Souls, which as we've seen, costs like millions of flux. You can also craft the Unfortunate Soul into this fragment resource, or there's going to end up being this right here. And the fragment doesn't even say where you get it, but you get it from completing like an entire world, right? So when we end up essentially doing the next quest, which would be the second ring, and then the next quest after that, which would be the third ring, we can go over here and tell this guy, okay, I want to either leave this world right now and get all my rewards, or I want to void those rewards and go to the next difficulty. The next difficulty, of course, would give you more rewards overall, so it's more efficient to go to the highest difficulty. On top of that, you won't have to keep crafting a new portal the higher the world that you end up going, until you inevitably end up getting to D15. And then whenever you complete that, every single time you'll have to leave with your rewards, which means that you have to then craft another portal. Again, I really hope that million flux is placeholder. But let's go to the last crafted resources right here in Luxion's Horde, which you can see there's only a couple new items for mastery farmers. There's an ally, which, I mean, it's got 400 light to it and some stability. Who cares? There's also dragon egg fragments. And then there's a couple other of Luxian's resources that these will end up essentially getting reduced or removed from the game ultimately. But you can see a lot of these, the devs are kind of stupid in the way that they've calculated these, because they essentially made all of the items out of Luxian's inventory way more expensive. Because you'll notice that in order to craft one of these, it costs 1 dragon coin per, which means that this costume costs 225 dragon coins on top of the other stupid resource that you gotta grind out of here. Now that's insane, because even when Luxian sold this item, he didn't sell it for 225 dragon coins. The devs think they pulled a fast one on us, but no, this is stupid. This is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. 180 dragon coins for these wings? Most I usually see is like 100 dragon coins, maybe 200, depending on like what the item actually is. But 72 dragon coins for this, 58 dragon coins for this. What the hell is this arbitrary number BS? What are you doing, devs? You want to actually calculate this stuff properly? Or, you know, God forbid that they actually play the game and test this out themselves and see just how many thousands of hours it takes to end up grinding all of this stuff. Because I think I calculated it when I was on stream a couple days ago. And I think in order to end up getting the amount of dragon fragments out of this that you need, it's something like, even if you end up crafting a single portal that's worth 1 million each, like 1 million flux, I think it's something like 60 or 70 million flux in total just on the portals alone, let alone the other resources that you would spend in order to end up getting these stupid fragments. Okay, now let's go back to the hub. And since we've spit all over that update, again, it's a fantastic update in theory that is executed very poorly. And at the end of the day, I can't help but say, nobody asked for this. Nobody. Like, even out of the survey and everything that they talked about in the community letter, check out my other video from the other day, nobody was asking for a Luxian overhaul. But anyways, let's go over to the dragon. So then you would craft the dragon egg itself, which is 100 of these. And then you go to the hatched dragon, which is right over here, and costs an additional 400 of these suckers. Let me calculate this, because this is an insane amount of dragon coins. I think it was 5. It was like 5 dragon, or 5 of those ring things per fragment, right? Which would mean that's 5 times 100. So that's 500 dragon coins already. And then the hatched dragon is an additional 400. So this dragon costs 900 dragon coins. Are you kidding me? These developers are actually psychotic and have lost their minds. And then what stats do you get? 50 stability, 5 health regen, and 50 magic find. Okay, moron. So here's the thing. Here's the big problem with Trove and a lot of these updates is that the developers don't actually play this game. They just use their debug menu to give this stuff to themselves. And their desire primarily is to not only make the update pay to win, which nobody would be stupid enough to spend money on this part of the game. But then on top of that, they don't want players grinding through this content super quickly, which is why they just keep making every new item more and more expensive. But then we run into problems with one of the most obvious being the primordial cosmic dragon. Just because this is a new item added to the game that the developers finally made doesn't mean that it should inconsistently cost 3 diamond dragon eggs. Because that just makes this dragon less approachable to a new player that's not even going to get a dragon egg in the first place. Who cares about the end game players getting these items and running out of things to do? Us end game players are going to grind the game regardless because we love it. Except when you end up giving us crap like this. I'm not spending, like, just because I have like thousands of dragon coins doesn't mean I'm going to spend nearly 1,000 dragon coins on a single dragon that, let's be real, doesn't have good stats and is going to sit inside my inventory doing nothing. Because one thing that I really wish that they would add to this game is cosmetic mounts. I wish that I could, I have my cosmic dragon equipped, but I could just right click Gonda, the same as we can do with our allies. Why can't I just have Gonda as my skin for my mount right now, even if I have all the effects of the cosmic dragon? Because otherwise, I'm always going to use the cosmic freaking dragon. But anyway, sound off in the comments what you guys think. I do want to try and remain unbiased and objective towards it. And there are aspects of the update that I enjoy. It's just, once again, the execution is a complete flop. Like it's just the stupidest. Like, this is an update that is clearly designed by game developers that don't actually play their own game, because the amount of time, the amount of investment, the amount of resources that you have to spend on all of this stuff is astronomically expensive for the average player. Again, if this was just a way that they could pool out resources from dupers, okay, I could kind of understand that, but why do we have to pay for the developer's mistake? Because it's their problem that the dupers are even existing in this game, because they should have dealt with the dupers right front and center rather than dealing with it in the sloppy method that they did. So why am I being punished for the dupers that are in this game when it's a design flaw? It's not, I'm not a game designer. I'm just the guy who plays this game. But anyway, again, there's things that I love about this update, but there's also things that I hate. And ultimately, I can't see there being any point, rhyme, or reason to even grinding this update when the rewards are so minuscule. Like, the reward for doing it is just like, why am I here? It costs too much. There's so many aspects of the game that do this. And so many times I've referred to Trove's latest updates as parasitic design, which means that there's the core gameplay, and you can kind of consider it like an onion with layers, right? So there's the outer layer, which is going to end up being this update, but instead of it surrounding the entirety of the game and affecting the entirety of the game, instead it's like some weird, I don't know, I want to say like a growth coming off of the onion, like that doesn't actually affect the rest of the game. Because if you think about it, once you end up completing everything out of this Luxian portion of the game, what do you have to show for it? Mastery. That's it. You don't have any stats. You don't have anything else to show for it for the adventure world or for geode caves or anything. It's just another, that's why it's called a parasitic update or parasitic design, because the entirety of the update is like a parasite latching on to something that already exists without adding anything meaningful to it. Anyways, smash like, sub for more, buy the merch, you want to support the channel. Have a wonderful day, everybody.